Well, first of all, good evening, everyone. And I'm so sorry for this confusion. I know that we announced something else for you guys today, which is the much better and much. Yes, of course, I'm glad that you agree with that.
You didn't even shave today.
The much better and the handsome guy over there, David. But David, unfortunately, he has some throat problems today, so he's not going to be able to give you the talk. So I was just trying to fill in for him, which is for sure I'm going to anticipate it's not going to happen because it's impossible to fill up for our friend over here because he's much better than me.
He's all relaxed and rested. He was a whole week on vacation.
Yeah,
so
let's. No. But I was trying to get something over here, but I don't know if my notes are sync with the computer over here because sometimes we change the presentation. So if I get lost over here, please forgive me, but I'll try to do my best tonight. See, I'm totally so lost that what I'm doing with this on my hands. This doesn't change the slides. That is not gonna happen. Simone, you know, you used to be a better coordinator over here. You were supposed to be helping me, not bringing me or leaving me even more nervous than I'm already in. So, it is working. Yes, hopefully it is. No, it's not. And if we do here, no, it's not.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Huh? No, it's not working. This is mine. This is not connected over there.
Sorry.
Okay. So we already did that once, so we're gonna do that again. No PowerPoint, no nothing. Let's just try to do inspired by our guardian angels. Let's try to do and have more faith in the angels that surrounding us because they conduct everything that we do over here. We are just their instruments. So I'm just going to use this computer for some of my notes and something that I would like to touch bases with you guys.
There you go.
No, but come back to the other slide. I think that is going to be better. Just back.
Or that. There you go.
Perfect. And I think that is going to be much better. Well, last Monday, we had Labor Day. Actually, the center was closed. And what Labor Day reminds and marks in our country? What Labor Day represents for us? First, the beginning of the football season, which is, I think, it's the most important things. Football is back on TV. We have things to do over the weekend. Not. You choose the Jaguars. I didn't. It's your fault. Don't blame on me. Don't blame on me. Anyways, that's the Labor Day starts or represents the beginning of the football season. That's the very first thing. And the second is it represents the beginning of the autumn. It's when we change our seasons. That's what marks for the United States, for the Americans, the change of the season. But why is this so important? Why we Americans, we follow the seasons with that importance, with that accuracy? Because life, it's everything in life, including us, and I would say even most importantly, us. Everything on life is about cycles. Everything has a cycle to start, a cycle to finish, a cycle to grow, a cycle to die, a cycle for everything. There is a time to expand and there is a time to retract. Actually, one of these slides that we said that says about the transformation. And the autumn represents a very important part of our life in the transformation that we have. On Ecclesiastes chapter 3, we have, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather those stones back together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast it away, a time to rent, and a time to seal, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak. On everything that we do in our life, there is a time for everything. There's a time for expanding, and there is a time for refraining. And what's the autumn represents for us, and why we were talking about the autumn? Because the autumn is that season when we started to retract ourselves. Then when we started to evaluate what we have done in our lives. It's about the time when we started to look on everything that we had done, the last planting that we've done, what we had collected for this planting, and how we have to change our lives for a better harvest in the future. So autumn represents for us, it's the nature getting older. It's a new life renewing. It's a time of a few maturity. And the maturity that we're going to be talking about is something that has nothing to do with age. For some of us, has to do with age, but it's not important. Age over here is not the most important factor. Season, all the seasons that we go through is characterized by change. Everything, every cycle that we have in our lives, it's about change. Change for better and change for worse. Change for good things and change for the bad things. Changes that we have to collect the consequences of our acts and decisions and choices from the past, and a time that we're going to be changing for a better future if we do the right thing at this moment. So on this season, it's a time to look back, take consciousnesses of our mistakes, because one of the things that we do the most in our lives is to blame other people in other situations about our mistakes, our problems, and everything else which is going around us. But if we look deep inside what are we going through, we are going to realize that everything that we're going through is just a consequence for something that we have done or we have chosen in the past. Not because of the government, not because of my wife, not because of my kids, not because of anybody or my boss. That's because of me. My choices, my options, my words, my attitudes, my behaviors. Everything that I'm collecting right now is a consequence for something like that. So on this time of the year, that's when we're going to be reevaluating everything. It's a time to prepare for the new season. As we are retracting, we're going to have another time to expand again. And when we prepare to expand again, if we are preparing on a better way with better seeds, we're going to have a better life in the future as well. Every moment in time, it's a time to look ahead and evaluate what we have done. Autumn is also to be celebrated as a time of introspection, preparation, knowledge of self, and empowerment for the new stages of life. But we were talking about maturity, and autumn represents a time of a few maturity. But how can we define maturity? Some of us, we can say, well, maturity comes when you turn 21, because you can do a lot of things, because the law says so, or because you are allowed to do everything that you are entitled to. You can drive, you can drink, you can party, you can do whatever you want. Is that real? I would say that I know quite a few teenagers, much more mature than some 40s and 50 years olds that I know also. Because maturity comes when we stop giving excuses and we start to make changes in our lives and somebody else's life. So I know people in 40s and 50s that they are still giving excuses for everything that they are blaming or is going through with that. And I know teenagers that they take in full responsibilities into their actions and their choices, and they are driving up in their lives. They are responsible for their attitudes. They are responsible for what they are doing. They are taking full responsibility for their choices with wisdom. Not a typical teenage decision when you wake up in the morning and say, well, you know something, I hate my parents, I don't want to live in this house anymore, I want to go. And you just go. No, not these kind of teenagers. Teenagers which are making an impact on this world. Teenagers which are making a difference on their lives and on somebody else's life. Teenagers that they know exactly what they are doing over here and why they are on this earth. So maturity, it has nothing to do with age. Has to do with taking responsibility and what we are doing with ourselves. Some of us will remain green forever. We'll never grow up. We'll never reach maturity because we are not going to be stopping to blame somebody else's or other people. It's interesting how nature knows its seasons and understands the language of each one of these seasons. The seasons reveal the beauty in this harmony of contrasts. Like nature, human life has its seasons as well. We have the spring, we have the summer, we have the autumn, and we have the winter of our lives as well. And as I said in the beginning, is everything through cycles. And we are just starting a new cycle. How do I take advantage of this new cycle? How do I take this moment to change something in my life? What do I have to do to change or be a better person? What do I have to do to fulfill my task and my role on this earth, on this life? What am I doing over here? Why I am on this earth? What am I doing over here? Well, Spiritism teaches us that we are immortal spirits. That for a moment, we are having an earthly and material experience. So our true life is the spiritual life, not the earthly one. We are just here for a brief period of time. Some of us, 50, 60, 70 years. Some of us, just 20, 30 years. It doesn't matter. But we're going to be here just for a few years. Our through life is the spiritual one. So we are here to learn through our experiences and acquire knowledge and wisdom so we can move forward on the pathway of progress and evolution. Not because someone is facilitating our pathway. Not because someone is giving us the hints and go in this way and go there, take this shortcut over here because you're going to reach the future or you're going to reach the perfection earlier. No, there's no such a thing as a shortcut on the long pathway of learning and experiences. We got to go through all the experiences and all the learnings by ourselves. So what we're doing over here, we are taking those lessons, taking these lessons, taking the learnings that we have to take so we can reach perfection. That's the purpose of life. That's the purpose of our existence on this earth. So that's what we're doing over here. So that's the time that we are evaluating. How am I using this opportunity towards my perfection? How am I using the seeds that I have inside of myself, inside of my heart, to plant and grow a new season or a new me for the future? Am I keeping me with the same seeds that I had in the past? Full of imperfections? Or am I trusting and trying to choose the mustard seeds that we have inside of us and grow the potential of that seed? Which, like our friend Greg just told us, is the smallest seed that we have in nature, and creates and procreates one of the most beautiful trees that we see, comparing to its size. So that's exactly the potential that we have inside of us. And we have to look into our seeds and what we're doing with these seeds. We got to pick these right ones so we can plant and prepare a new harvest for the future. But anyways, as we go to the autumn, there's a very interesting thing. Autumn is characterized basically for the falling of the leaves. When we look around, but anyway, I just want to make a parenthesis over here that I forgot to mention in the beginning. We are talking so much about autumn, but we are Floridians. Do you guys are aware what autumn is? Do you know autumn? Have you experienced autumn? I guess not. Yes. Autumn is a season, beautiful, where the changes and the trees change their colors from the greenish to the yellowish to the brownish and everything. In the end of this process, all these leaves, they follow in the soil and the floor and the grass and everything becomes so beautiful with those colors and everything. We don't experience this in Florida. You got to move up a few states up north if you want to see and experience this Alton on its potential, at its full potential. I would strongly recommend a trip to New England, any state of the New England area, by late October and early November. It's one of the most beautiful spectacles that you can see on your life. It's gorgeous. It's marvelous. It doesn't happen on Florida, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Florida, we just have 2 seasons. Virginia? Yeah, it's okay. So that's the voice of experience. Yeah, in Florida, we just have 2 seasons: hot summer or extremely hot summer. That's all that we have in Florida. But anyways, why the leaves they fall from the tree? What is the science behind it? What is the message behind it? Why the leaves fall in the autumn? It's a strategy of plants to protect themselves from the cold, while minimizing their energy expenditure. When autumn comes, the nature is signaling to the trees that it's time to change some of their characteristics, which is basically what life try to tell us. You know, it's sending us message that we needed to change some of our behaviors, some of the things that we're doing, some of our thoughts, some of our values. And what is this mechanism that life uses with us? It's called pain. As nature gives the sign to the tree that nature has been changing or the season has been changing, our lives gives us this message that we needed to change through pain. Pain, it's a mandatory feeling that we must have, that we must go through to wake up that something is not quite right with us. Suffering, that's an option. That's another thing. But a pain, I would say, it's mandatory to wake us up on what we have to change. Anyways, with less sunlight, the first change is to stop. They stop it to produce chlorophyll. With the decrease of chlorophyll, the leaves become yellowish or reddish. The plant then begins to produce a hormone that it becomes an acid, which is deposited by the end of the leaf, by the very thin and fragile thing that keeps the leaves connected to the tree. So that acid is deposited right there. And what this acid is going to provoke? The fall of the leaf. This little thing is called the petiole. Petiole. The petiole ends up breaking and leaf falls without being overpowered by the tree, which can use this energy from their own heating. So what tree is doing over here? It's getting rid from the leaves, which they don't need anymore, to save energy, to survive. Because during the winter time, there is much less heat and there's much less sun. So all the energy that she's going to produce, it's going to be used for basic survival. And what happens with us when we have all of these problems in our lives? We don't get rid of anything. We still keep walking with all that weight on our backs. Looks like we are carrying backpacks full of stones, and we don't get rid of any of these stones. We keep carrying all of these all towards the way. And we don't pay attention to the lessons that nature has to show to us. How they fall, how these leaves falls apart. Autumn is the season of the strong winds and the fallen leaves. You can notice that between late September to late November, that's the time of the year that we get the most of the winds. So that's when the wind blows the most, and they keep moving the leaves, or taking the leaves out of the trees. Sometimes we are hit by these winds in our lives as well. We lose a dear friend, we lose a job, we lose a loved one. It doesn't matter. Something happens on us, giving us another sign, another hint that we are getting close to the winter time. But we keep not paying attention to this. But there is a ways that we can wake up for that. There's a lot of things that are going on, and we're gonna be learning from that. Autumn winds blow strong against us, and which leaves our dreams go away. The winds. It seems. Oh no, that doesn't make any sense. Often, autumn winds blow strong against us, and which leaves our dreams go away. It seems like life is being shattered and everything will fall apart. Are the winds of the great trials. These are the winds of the great trials that we go through. They come in the form of illness, grief, loss, and disillusionment. While it has the seasons of falling leaves, autumn is also the time of life that it's the time that life renews itself. Withstanding the fall is renewed for the wind. But which are the leaves that we, in our lives, we must let it go inside of us? Which are the leaves that we collect, that we're keeping, walking with these leaves, that keeps bothering us? One of them is pride. The other leaf that we have to let the wind take it away from us is the vanity. The other one could be selfishness. So when the wind blows against us, if we let these leaves going away, we're going to becoming better persons. We're going to start to dominate our instincts, because when we let pride, selfishness, and vanish go away, we become better persons. We become more centered persons. We become more in control of ourselves. Because when pride, vanish, and selfishness are not reigning, are not commanding our attitudes, behavior, words, whatever we want to do with that, we gain control in ourselves. To take control in ourselves, we must take control in our pride, in our selfishness. So that's when life comes and gives all these blows against us, because we need to let these things go away with us. And when we gain control, when we dominate our instincts, that's when we move from the phase of instinct, reaction, to feelings, to action, to be proactive. Most of the time, we are just reacting to the things that which life is bringing to us. When we domain and gain domain on ourselves, we start to take control in our lives, and then we become more proactive. We become mature. We start to make decisions, choices, and taking full responsibility for our choices and activities. But why you are so afraid in doing that? Because pride does not allow us to be wrong. We can never, ever admit that we were wrong, because pride does not allow us to do that. There is no problem in being wrong. Because on this life over here, God, very smart guy, this God, he's a very smart guy. Very, very smart. He controls the universe all by himself for the last 13 billion years. So I would say he's kind of smart. He knows what he's doing. He never gave us any direct direction. Do this. He always sent his messengers to show us the way so we could follow the way. Christ said, "Come to me, and I'll save you." He never said, "Believe in me, and I'll be saving you." He said, "Come to me." What comes to me means that we have to stand up and give our steps ways towards Christ ourselves. Follow his footsteps. We got to do our part on this evolution process. And that's the time of the year when we reflect upon our attitudes, what we have gone through, and what we're going to be planting for the near seasons, for the near futures. That's when we start to change the paradigms that we believe. That's when we started to build new habits, new attitudes, new behaviors, new thoughts. We started to let the light come inside of us. Because for some reason, which it's kind of complicated to understand, we just obstruct any tentative or any kind of light that comes to us. Looks like we are trying to become or be in the winter of our times or our lives for our entire life. But we need to change these paradigms. We need to deconstruct this stereotype that we built ourselves, which is this stereotype that we are infallible, that I'm the most perfect person in the world, that I'm never wrong. Well, I got some good news for you guys. We're not perfect. Because if we were perfect, we would be God. And if we would be God, we would have much more troubles and problems to manage than we have today. So we are good where we are. And as God is perfect and we try to follow what he had taught to us through his disciples, through Jesus and all the teachings that he came to teach to us, then we're going to be following his footsteps. Then we're going to be transforming ourselves. But to start this transformation, first of all, we got to start and we got to go through these seasons. Because as we expanded during spring and summertime, now it's time to react, because life is everything about cycles. We need to retract a little bit. We need to come back to inside of us. We got to analyze what is wrong or what is right with us. The fall has come. Gone is the green of the trees, announcing that the splendor climate has declined in the life clock. There are many who live in the autumn of life. That's the season of courage, transformation, change. Transformation are needed to prepare ourselves for the winters we will live. And what the winter represents to us. Winter is the season of the heavy rains, cold and low light. It's also when the life retracts the most. The cold and the darkness grieves the soul. The heart cries out a fireplace and a blanket. It's the season of loneliness, the profound questioning of sharp existential crisis. Everything seems dark around us. We want something that will warm the soul and someone who will listen to the heart. But a winter does not last forever. When all seems lost and think no more outputs, the seeds begins to sprout. But that's when we started. That's when we passed it for this evolution process, or the evaluation process, that we evaluate ourselves. Because during the autumn, we just finished our harvest. So we know exactly what we collected from our sowing. So what I collected for myself, do I like this result? Could I have done better? Could I have chosen or picked other seeds to sow instead of these ones that I just got it? Because make no mistake about it, if you were sowing roses, you're going to be collecting roses. If you were sowing pineapples, you're going to be collecting pineapples. There is no way that you're going to sow pineapple with all this spiny, picky things that picks you, and you're going to collect peaches. It's not going to happen. To collect peaches, we got to sow the peaches. Smooth, tender, juicy, beautiful to look at. But you got to treat on that. And you got to be giving yourself time to collect that. But the winter is gone and the spring starts to come. The spring is when the colors touch up the nature with a rare beauty. It's the hope that emerges inside of us. It's the life emerging inside ourselves, because we can start to look into the light and we can see there is a solution for me. There's a new pathway for me. There's a new things that I can do with myself, by myself, and for myself, that are going to be collecting a new and a much better me in the future. The problem is, or the complication that we have with our lives, is that we believe somebody else will come and will solve all of our problems. Will give us the directions where we should go, where we should do this and don't do that, and they're going to be happy forever. Well, happiness forever, as we're going to see on the Disney movies, it doesn't exist in real life. It just exists for Disney Studios. Real life, They don't have princess that lives forever. How happily ever after? How do you say that? Where's the expression? You live happily after after?
Ever after.
Perfect. Just for Disney Studios. Real life, it doesn't fit. But there's always an expectation for that. There's always an opportunity for this. We can be as happy as we can if we have it very clear in our minds that this stage over here is just a passage. It's just a few years. It's just some time that we're going to be spending learning towards the perfection. That's what we have and to gotta have in our minds very, very clear. And when we have this thought inside of us, the spring of our lives starts to sprout again. The light will come back, and the seeds that we had sown in the past are going to start to grow up again. After the spring, we got the summer. And in summer, the sun glare and strength the light and exalt all the creation. It's when the summer is coming, and it's the light that expands our vision, the heart that warms our dreams, and the strength to resist the winds of pain. It is life that triumphs. It's a win after all. So when the summer represents also life in abundance. That's when we come back to life. That's when we come back into a new reborn and a new start. And we can reborn and start again on this life how many times we desire, how many times we want. We can be reborning every day. I did something yesterday that I didn't like it. Today I'm going to be doing something different. So I'm reborning. I'm reborning as a new person. Every day and every time that we change a behavior, that we change a value inside of us, we are reborning inside of this life. Because this person that which is waking up tomorrow morning is going to be totally and completely different from the guy that went to bed last night. Because I change it. As I change it, I'm reborn as a new person. So I can reborn every day as much as I want and dedicate myself on this transformation pathway. And the autumn leaves represents exactly that. The life, the cycles of change that we all face and go through in our lives. And this time of the year is the time that we started to get closer to this evaluation process. Do we need all of these leaves that we are carrying on right now? Or should I just let it go so I can reborn much better in the next spring? I'll leave this question for you guys. Thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate your time.